Hello, my name is David McGee, and I'm the Executive Director for Build Wealth Minnesota. I want to thank you for taking the time out today to view this informative documentary. Today we're going to be highlighting and showcasing the Family Stabilization Plan program. This is an applied learning, value-based approach to transforming the lives of families in the urban city. Today we're going to be interviewing some of our stakeholders and partners, and you're going to learn about a number of approaches that have been very effective in transforming the lives of so many families. You're also going to hear some of the testimonies of the families and the participants of the program. We want to thank you once again for taking the time out to view this informative documentary. As we enter our 10th year of serving the community, we think that this is one of the best practices and approaches that can be replicated throughout the country. Thank you again for your time.
There is an ongoing socio-economic revolution changing the lives of many families and individuals in the Minneapolis and surrounding metro areas. The Family Stabilization Plan, a program of Build Wealth Minnesota in partnership with the Minneapolis Urban League, Stair Step Foundation, and many other community development organizations, focuses on helping to change the mindset of communities facing challenges caused by current economic conditions and other factors that fuel poverty in their neighborhoods. We are about to share with you their story, detailing their 9 years and counting of dedicated service to their community through their education programs and trainings, as well as their other developmental products and services. Journey with us into the heart of our stabilization program, to our New Dimension Men's Project, and see how we work in community and fellowship to solve and remedy the true causes of economic hardships. You will hear direct testimony from program graduates and participants on how Build Wealth and its partnerships has helped them on their way to financial providence. We started out by asking program graduates what was it exactly that sparked their interest in the financial literacy program and the Family Stabilization Plan. Here's a little bit of what they had to say.
Because we wanted to work in our credit, we wanted to eventually buy a home and just learn how to get out and stay out of debt.
I have a huge passion for being able to start early as far as saving and looking into future goals, and it's never too young to start a plan of some sort, whether it's a year plan or 2-year, 5-year plan, even if it's something small where it's like, hey, I want to save $1,000, or to a long-term thing where it's like I want to save money to buy a house. So I constantly talk about it all the time, and I refer people all the time just because I truly think it's a very good program, and that I benefited from myself, that I can show that not only am I just saying stuff, but it's like, hey, these are kind of what has happened in my life because of what this program has done and what it has taught us.
I was referred to the program through Chris Merritt's at Metropolitan Consortium of Community Developers, MCCD, and because I needed help with my personal finances in order to move forward with some business improvements.
Because we needed help. Well, we were at the time going through a foreclosure, and we had recently filed bankruptcy for the first time, at least as husband and wife. And one of the things that I wanted to do was to make sure that in coming out of those hard times, that I would never see those hard times again. So I wanted to make sure that I was doing everything I could do, that I got the education I needed, that I was able to make the connections I needed to rebuild our lives.
Wanted to purchase a house, and the program that I was going through required that you have some financial literacy courses, and so I had heard through that organization about Build Wealth Minnesota and the Family Stabilization Plan, so I signed up.
Build Wealth Minnesota, it's been a ministry for me, particularly that started about 14 years ago. And we started, me and my wife started an organization where we were training people. The goal was to train underserved populations to get into the financial services area. That's how it really originally started. And then the Build Wealth component was a point where we had started an opportunity to begin to train families. We were already training families in financial literacy, but the Family Stabilization Plan came because we seen that there was a need to actually create something that was long-term and transformative. Our Build Wealth's primary goals are to try to build sustainable social and economic wealth with an emphasis on lowering the cost of money. Most of the families that we serve were paying a lot of money for things and services and goods because of the lack of knowledge. They have been going through a lot of generational patterns of lack and mistrust and going through systems that were set up against them over time. And so what we've been doing through the Family Stabilization Plan was creating a long-term, a comprehensive approach to actually help families to gain the knowledge that was necessary for them to kind of break some of those generational patterns, all while learning what it is to build sustainable wealth.
Family Stabilization Plan offers a number of culturally sensitive financial products and services. Each is tied to educational components to ensure that families have a successful transition into mainstream financial markets. Community partners, banks, both public and private organizations have come together in providing this holistic, intense 2-year counselor-assisted program that helps facilitate and stabilize the financial position of the family. There's 11 steps in this program, and every family and individual experiences success differently through the program. Some of the areas that families have experienced much success in are along the lines of financial literacy education, budget planning, credit awareness and debt reduction planning, healthy credit usage, savings to save, and investing for the future, just to name a few. We will get to hear the details from program graduates on exactly which areas in the Family Stabilization Plan they benefited from the most.
They were very inspirational in helping me determine the path that I definitely wanted to take, and the strategy to get there. So, I mean, it was very inspirational in me getting my business plan together and all those things. Yeah.
One of the most valuable things that we got out of the program was learning about credit. We went up 200 points, or our credit scores went up 200 points since we started the program, and it's still continuing to rise. We've gotten a lot of help with buying our home. We closed October 19th, so we've been able to get down payment assistance and a lot of help from the program with just getting us ready. And what else? I've gotten help with my business and helping with my business loan as well as part of the program.
I learned so much about how credit worked and what it took to make your credit score go up or down, and if your credit cards are maxed out, how that affects your credit. I also learned a lot of resources around the Twin Cities that I didn't even know existed. Definitely.
Credit counseling was one. I have to say the check, number 2. And the restructuring of the vision plan.
We also got some grants that we found out through Build Wealth Minnesota. And this came in handy during the tornado last year. It's a elevator, a lift that gets me down in the basement. And you can bet when that tornado hit from the other side, I was down in the basement with my dog. And that's another $12,000. I don't know if we would have figured out all the ways to. I mean, we had got a lot of help, but Build Wealth taught us it's not always as it seems. Think out of the box. And my wife is really smart, so she was the one that was able to find a lot of the help in getting results. Washer and dryer there. Then if you look right up to the ceiling there, you'll see we're also equipped with a lift. Unfortunately, my disease is degenerative, and I will get weaker and weaker. And I will need this to lift me out of bed, and it goes over to the toilet. Urban Homeworks, of course, but Build Wealth. We could have never been able to buy this house if we didn't know it. We didn't learn.
With the 70, 10, 10, 10, you take 70% of what you're making of your household income, and that's what you technically should be living off of to be, in a sense, comfortable. And then 10% of that would go into savings, where you would kind of put aside for whether it's truly a savings or an emergency fund. Another 10% would be for us, since we're Christian, we tithe. So that's our tithe that we consistently give. But for those who, are not, faithfully or not going to church or just not religious, it's always good to give back to a community, give back to an organization, something like that. So it's always good to sow into something that you believe, because that always ends up coming back in some kind of way, shape, or form. It's just good for you to do that, right? The other 10% is your payment for yourself. So you pay yourself 10% off of your income, and that's kind of like the money that, for us, it helps us not fight or battle, because it's like, okay, you do whatever you want with that 10%. It's already accounted for. No questions asked. You take it. If you want to go buy shoes, clothes, with basically the wants of your life, but you're subject to that 10%, where you know that whatever that 10% is completely whatever you want to do with it. But once that is gone, it's gone, and you kind of know your limit of not going overboard and stuff like that. So that's kind of where that model comes in, and as you kind of play with it, it never should go up. It should never go from 70 to 80. It should steadily go down. Hopefully, it's what the overall outcome should be.
And the Family Stabilization Plan really takes about 13 different programs and combines them all into one. And so we consider families that are in our program go through kind of a continuum, where they go through the Family Stabilization Plan. A great deal of the first 12 weeks is financial literacy. But in our program, we also work in the areas of housing. We work in the areas of workforce development and employment readiness. We work in entrepreneurship. We work in building savings and helping people to establish investment opportunities. We also extend affordable housing is really big for us, and we try to work extensively in that area. We've got a number of great relationships in that area that we work in. Like I said, savings, budgeting, preparing families for all of the negative things that they've gone through. So there are a number of different programs all within each other. We have another very exciting one we just started, digital equity, where we're helping families to close that digital divide. As you know, nowadays everything is technology, and we've got a lot of families that lack that knowledge and understanding of technology. So we're trying to close that gap by providing families in our program free computers, free internet service for a year, and then we partner with University of Minnesota Workforce Center and some others to kind of give them the knowledge and classes to be able to navigate on a computer and the internet, and helping them to do resume writing and things of that nature. It's another component of this Family Stabilization Plan. So it's built up with a number of different areas.
There are several programs that we have developed within our division over the past year that, and one of those is our digital equity program, which we piloted this year in partnership with several folks. It was the City of Minneapolis, the Civil Rights Department, and our Information Technology Department, along with our Community Planning and Economic Development Department, partnered with Build Wealth Minnesota and the Family Stabilization Program, with the University of Minnesota, their Broadband Access Program, PCs for People, and the State Department of Employment and Economic Development to provide computers for families who participate in the Family Stabilization Program. There were 10 families that participated in the pilot program, and we were able to provide them not only with home computers, but also we were able to provide them with training on how to use the computer, training on how to use the computer to help them with their finances, with their budgets. Also, training on how to use the computer to find jobs or to find better jobs, to find good jobs. We all know that these days, in order to find a good job, you need to have a computer and you need to have regular access to a computer. That's where the good jobs are found. And these days too, you have to apply online. So it's really important for us as the city looks for opportunities to eliminate the employment disparity that we actually are able to give people and provide people with the tools necessary to find good jobs.
Our program, more than 50% of the families that we get are through referrals. We have what we consider 33 community access points is what we'll call them. We've got Urban League, we've got banks, U.S. Bank, we've got Minnesota Housing, we've got the network of the Emerging Markets Homeownership Initiative, we've got the African American Leadership Forum. There are a number of different initiatives that Build Wealth is aligned with that refer families into our program on a regular basis. There's always a waiting list. We've yet to market this program. Right now we are aligned with about 18 different churches, and so churches are sending families in. We've got pastors that are sending families that are going through hardships. So rather than continuing to give them money out of a benevolent fund, they're actually sending them here so that they can become stable and be more productive members of the church and their neighborhoods.
I tell everyone about it, like whether it's directly like, oh, you have to, check this program out or look into it, to even sharing things that I've learned about the program. I just think it's so beneficial. And then we're youth leaders at our church, so that, I think, installing that into our young, people of tomorrow in a sense, and the youth group that we kind of support, I think it's huge.
I'm a business person, and I'm in a lot of different business classes and business dealings, and I've referred a few people to Build Wealth already because people are asking me, how am I doing it? How am I getting my credit together? People at work. So I've given, I have Build Wealth's number in my cell phone, so I've given that to a few people to call so that they can get in the program and get on the right financial track for their lives.
Wow. I say at least 20 of us. The whole family, all of us. It's all my sister, my brother, nieces, nephews, all of them. They all just so happy with me.
I talked to one of my girlfriends that went through this program, and she talked about how it helped with budgeting and getting your finances together, and also like if you wanted to become a homeowner. Well, I made it my mission to tell everybody that I know. So that would have to be at least 50 to 70 people. I tell everybody, I hand out cards. I am a walking, living testimonial. I tell everybody, you got to go to that program. They've got an awesome program. Build Wealth is an awesome program, and I just tell them what they did for me, and they're like, wow. They're blown away.
Social wealth is through relationships. It's not always what you know. It's who you know. It's who you know, and what's your network and your sphere of influence that can actually get you the types of things that you need that will sustain you, that will start breaking some of the generational patterns. And so what we try to do is we try to emphasize that in our programming. And once you have networks of people that you know, then you're able, and you got the knowledge that you need, you can literally begin to start building economic wealth at the end of the day. The mission of Build Wealth, I'm a banker and I've been in the financial services arena for about 30 years. I'm also a minister and a man of God, and I was called, I believe, to this mission of helping families. I've been blessed, and me and my wife we've been millionaires, we've been broke, we've gone through foreclosure, and we've gone through bankruptcy 2 times. And so we've learned a lot about some of the things that have hindered and hurt our family. And so as a means of giving back, this is how this Build Wealth and this Family Stabilization Plan started as an underwriter, which is where the vast majority of my financial services arena is really an underwriter who decides who gets a loan. And their goal, an underwriter's goal, is to really protect families from getting into financial, arrangements and relationships that can be harmful to the family. And so we've literally started looking at underwriting every family for life, in a sense, because it's so critical that families not only know about the relationships and the financial relationships and the details of those instruments that they're getting engaged in. They also need to know what's going on in the industry around them. And so in this family stabilization, the mission was to create a holistic approach and very comprehensive approach to underwrite families from the beginning and find out exactly what that family is missing and provide every opportunity to restore and or put that family in a position to begin to gain sustainable social and economic wealth for their family. And that can only be done I believe in a very comprehensive, very deliberate approach, and a long-term approach. There are a lot of programs that are out there that are 1 week or 1 day or 3 months. This one literally goes through a full 2 years, and it works on a value-based approach where we believe that families need to reprioritize their values. And so we're encouraging families to learn about what that means to literally reprioritize their value system, and then begin to learn the different systems that are around them that affect their families, like insurance systems, credit systems, housing systems, banking systems, entrepreneur and business systems. All of these things affect each and every one of our families. We're paying for these things, and usually we're paying too much. And so the goal is to begin to create a system that educates them about these systems that are affecting their families. A lot of families are losing wealth and losing the ability for sustainable generational wealth. Instead, they're in generational poverty. And so this whole program's mission is to be able to achieve that and to fight that and make sure that we're not only working in social justice, we're looking in racial justice, we're looking in economic justice, in all these different areas for all people.
Definitely. We would now like to take a moment and share with you a more personable and relaxed side of the Family Stabilization Plan, the New Dimensions Men's Project. This project focuses on touching the deeper causes of economic hardships in families by way of community and fellowship events. The New Dimensions Men's Project is helping to establish an unprecedented level of social wealth to men of all ages and walks of life. Here is one of the many positive ventures put on by the New Dimensions Men's Project: a rest retreat to rejuvenate, recharge, and rebuild. Through group discussion, fishing, and many other fellowship activities, the men are given the ability to learn from each other, share background stories and guidance to assist each other through any economic hardships that may be going on at the time.
It's a family program, and so we encourage the entire family to be a part of our program. And we consider family an individual, a single mother with children, and or a married couple and their children are considered family through our program. And family is very, very important to us, and we believe that the wealth is within that family. And so to build that family up, that's where we believe that social wealth starts at home. As part of this social wealth and this family structure, we have a program called the New Dimensions Men's Project, and we actually influence men and help men to be better fathers and literally better husbands, better members of society, and strengthening them and encouraging them to do well, to break some of the generational cycles of poverty that they they find themselves in, from using systems wrong or not having all the knowledge they need to succeed in today's world and economy.
Now you will hear from 3 Family Stabilization Plan budget coaches. They will discuss their experiences through the program, implementing and administering the curriculum, and working with families to help them execute on their financial goals.
We've been very fortunate to have financial coaches that have come that have financial backgrounds. Many of them have 5 to 10 years worth of financial coaching, financial planners. Some have Series 7. Some have been loan originators or loan underwriters before. Some are their financial COO at their corporation and or their church. Those are the types of folks that we've been fortunate enough to have in our program. We train each and every coach that is in our program with a set of skills, and there's designations and certification trainings that each of them have to go through in financial literacy. Several have to go through foreclosure prevention, home buyer education, training the trainer program. So all of them come with a set of skill sets, and then we actually certify them and train them to be even more effective. Kind of with the model that Build Wealth follows. In addition to that, we've also trained families to be, we consider them client coaches. We've taken some coaches that are already gone through our program that have some financial services background and or some counseling background, and we've actually trained them as well to be client coaches, and that's worked out very well for our families and the family and that client coach, and really exceeding.
I specialize in helping clients create budgets, develop goals, and following through to help them reach their goals.
I specialize in, at least from my everyday job, on the tax side of things. But my passion is also the overall financial advisory situation. I've been in the industry for about 13 years and kind of seeing whether, the right investments actually fit the personality of the client, whether their right strategies actually fit the personality of the client and their current situation. That's really what I focus on.
At first, when I came into the Family Stabilization Program, I wasn't sure. I knew I'd be working with underserved families, but it ended up being a conglomeration of just many, whites, blacks, the Hmong community, and it was refreshing. And what I saw was a group of people who desired to get into their first homes, or at that point were struggling just financially and really did not have a plan. And it was fun coming alongside these families and just getting them ready to purchase a home or to help them through financial issues that they were involved with, how to handle their money, how to do credit.
I think I do more of the goal setting and planning because that's something I really stress with them. Also, I'm really working with a couple of families with them coming together and coming up with a plan together so that the family as a whole is doing it as a united front as opposed to one person doing it one way. It's really trying to get them to work together to accomplish their goals that they have.
A lot of the obstacles or the problems have to do with spending, saving. A lot of the clients I've had have never saved before. They may have savings accounts, but they never save. A lot of the clients have debt problems. They either have collections, some have bankruptcies, some have overwhelming amounts of debts. And those are some of the major issues, either excessive spending, lack of budgeting, little or no savings, and excessive debt.
There are various types of families, and they come from all walks of life. We have families, or I've coached families that had 6-figure incomes. You think they wouldn't have issues. I've also coached families that both of the parents or both of the spouses have been unemployed, but the central issue, or I should say the common issue there, is just a matter of getting a hold as to their financial situation, and it usually ends up being that the finances are only the icing on the cake, but there are deep-rooted issues as like communication, self-esteem issues, so forth and so on.
A lot of it is low self-esteem. Another is just kind of unforgiveness, which kind of is poison them. And so it's kind of now we're trying to purify them, get all of it out in the open and get it worked on, so that it doesn't affect, so you don't, use your money emotionally. You can use it logically and what it's used for, or make it work for you.
We have been very, very, I guess, honored and privileged and blessed to have entered into a number of different great initiatives and partnerships. We've got some in housing, and I'll start with housing. We've got a wonderful partnership that we work in right now with it's called Project Reclaim, and so we work with Urban Homeworks, which is a local housing development organization, in the City of Lakes Community Land Trust, and Build Wealth Minnesota. We've come together where we've actually found an opportunity to do what I consider a triple bottom line approach, where we're actually helping families, we're helping restore neighborhoods, and we're actually helping the economy by bringing folks that actually are from the community to be part of restoring the community and earning livable wages. And so through this Project Reclaim, Urban Homeworks' role in this is to actually reclaim a neighborhood, house by house, block by block, acquiring previously foreclosed properties, getting volunteers to go in and folks from the neighborhood and developers from the neighborhood to actually renovate those properties with new roofs, new mechanicals, new plumbing, new electrical, literally bringing these houses into almost a move-in ready, newly developed unit for families. And so families acquire those on their affordable program at roughly 3%, and they go in on this affordable plan, and they may have some credit challenges, and they may have some employment challenges. And so those families, from that particular standpoint, come into the Family Stabilization Plan. And then the Family Stabilization Plan is responsible for taking them through the continuum of training them in financial literacy, preparing their credit, preparing their savings, helping them to have budgets so that they'll be literally, we consider mortgage-ready families. So at the end of the 2 years, the goal is that they would actually refinance out of that contract for deed and move into traditional financing. City of Lakes Community Land Trust, as part of this collaborative, ends up doing an affordable model called a land trust, where they would bring $30,000 to $50,000 worth of money to make the property affordable, and also make sure that that particular unit remains an affordable housing unit. It saves the family anywhere from $300 to $500 a month, making it affordable. And that particular property will always remain in an affordable unit. Even if the families move and decide to move on, that particular unit, literally they share the equity with that family, and that particular unit stays within that community as an affordable housing unit. And so in our relationship, we consider it like this, that Urban Homeworks reclaims the block and the family, Build Wealth stabilize the family, and then the City of Lakes Community Land Trust builds lasting trust for the next 100 years for that particular neighborhood.
Yeah, Urban Homeworks is a faith-rooted community building and community development organization that seeks to reconcile relationships, bring about dignity both in real estate and in those relationships by using housing as kind of a playground to coalesce a lot of different people and a lot of different energy and a lot of different resources, and actually use housing also to absorb the transactions of acquiring it, of rehabbing it and maintaining it in our neighborhood and benefit individuals and businesses in our community. So our goal is to stabilize place and then work within the relationships that are occupying our housing and other housing on the block to build social capital and to stabilize people.
My name is Jeff Washburn with the City of Lakes Community Land Trust. Our organization has now been around for 11 years, and the focus of our organization is really threefold. One is to assist households achieve home ownership in the city of Minneapolis who otherwise would not be able to achieve home ownership. Secondly, is if and when the homeowner ever decides to sell their home, we're there as a community partner to ensure that we can keep that home affordable for a better income qualified household. Then lastly, and I think this is tied in exactly to the work of Build Wealth and the Family Stabilization Program, is if we help somebody buy a home, we need to do everything in our organizational power to ensure that they're successful in home ownership. And so over the last 10 years, we've been able to help 170 plus homeowners achieve home ownership in Minneapolis, and we were able to do so through a lot of partnership here in the city.
Wow. Yeah, Urban Home Works. I got my contract for D through Urban Home Works, and Community Lakes Land Trust is another organization that directly helped me get into my home. I'm sure there's others that I'm not thinking of right now.
I think buying a house with less than 3 years, about 2 years after having a foreclosure, I think that's probably the biggest miracle. Move your foot, Jay.
So the Homeownership Center's mission is to support sustainable, affordable homeownership throughout the state of Minnesota. And our business model is that we support a network of nonprofit agencies that deliver our services in the community. And our services or programs are homeownership education and counseling. So how can we prepare people to be homeowners, as well as foreclosure prevention counseling. So for consumers who are facing mortgage crisis, that they can come to one of our network agencies and get foreclosure prevention services that can at least help them understand, at the very least, help them understand what foreclosure is and what their rights are during foreclosure, but more importantly, help them understand the different programs and different tools that might be available to help them stay in their homes. So we're about homeownership and preparing people for long-term sustainable homeownership.
Okay, well, I see sustainable housing stability is a very key part of that because it's a foundation, it's the launching pad for the family. So I often think of my work with low resource families as they need to be stable in their housing so they can put their energies and their attention to parenting, work development, meeting other basic needs. So of course I'm a houser, so I see housing as the key to everything. But I really do believe that families need this base of operations to be a fully functioning family, a fully functioning set of successful individuals. So it provides the place where families support each other, learn from each other, send each other out into the world.
Yeah, homeownership.
Yeah, homeownership, definitely.
Me and my wife, we're young. I'm 26, and you just turned 26 too. So we're both 26. We're always a year off of each other. So we're both 26, and to be homeowners at 26, and we bought the home when I was 24. Yeah, so I was 24. To be a homeowner at 24, it's great. I mean, it's something that I didn't think was possible, but I always knew it was going to end up happening. And I truly believe that the program helped that happen because, I was in the right mindset as far as finances, but we were not on the same page.
We weren't on the same page, and we didn't know what steps to take. So
Right.
it just cleared everything for us and helped pave the way into us getting our own.
Yes.
Because I think it's certainly, there's an opportunity there to create wealth, to build assets, but at the end of the day, I think what this work is really all about when we think about asset building and wealth creation, it's the goal is really about breaking the cycle of intergenerational poverty.
So here's something I learned by working with the evaluation of the Build Wealth program, is that I met a lot of families who'd been middle-income families, had been very successful, but they didn't have a solid foundation. They didn't have savings. They didn't have long-term plans. And so then when the recession hit, they felt the full brunt of that. I think they're coming out of that learning that as they're recovering economically, they don't want to ever go through that again.
Sometimes at times it can feel like you're caught in a rut and in a cycle, and it's a generational cycle of poverty. And so I think that the program has helped me to break the cycle, and for me that's a big thing. So that's the biggest thing about being in the program, is that I feel like more in control, and I feel like I can teach my child to actually, I can teach my child the right things to do, and so that they can be successful and even go to higher heights than what I have in my life. So that's a big thing.
If we are going to eliminate the employment disparity and the other disparities that exist here in the Twin Cities, it's important that we understand how to create and maintain resources, and also how to be able to deal with the resources that we get. And
I think it's a miracle that we're still here. Being alive, having a business, still married, it's all a miracle to me. Challenges, I think challenges are something we face every day. I just learned that when I get up in the morning, I look my challenges in the face and I just go right at it. That's just the way I deal with things today, because I can't put things off as much as I would like to sometimes. So I'm forced to deal with them. And then it always helps to have a balancing partner that won't allow you to put things off as much as you might want to.
And it's been demonstrated that a home purchasing a home, a home that a family owns, is one of the primary means for wealth generation in low to moderate income communities. That's a reality in our society. And so what we want to make sure is that as consumers are entering home ownership with that understanding, right, that they're fully recognizing how that transaction needs to come about.
We believe a family is stable that has adequate employment and that's gainfully employed, not underemployed. We believe that a family that is fully banked and is not unbanked and using check cashing systems and high-cost financial products and services, that builds an unstable family. We believe a family that is not getting along with members of the household is an unstable family. And usually if you're going through economic challenges and you lack money or you lack resources, or you're in a dead-end job and you've got some desires and dreams in your heart, usually there's friction within the body of that house, and that we believe that those are all ingredients of what we consider an unstable family. And it is our goal to take a comprehensive approach to address each and every one of those areas. The relationships that are in that household, the hierarchy of what's in that household, what some of the roles and responsibilities of each and every person, right down to the 11-year-old who has to take out the garbage, that there's roles, responsibilities in that particular household, that there's savings that are being built up in that household, that everybody is working on one cylinder. Not that the family isn't going to have disagreements and there are not going to be hardships, or there's not going to be economic times that maybe challenge the family, but that family is unified and stable and all on one accord. We believe that that's a stable family.
Collective leadership, not just the university, but certainly partners like Build Wealth, as I mentioned again, the Urban League, Merge, North Point, Summit OIC, some of the premier institutions in that community. I think we all are clear about the critical importance of our small businesses in that community. And certainly, I personally, I lived in that community for about 28 years, and I always used to get frustrated about the fact that most of my consumer needs I had to get outside of the community. It was very, very frustrating to me because I wanted to reinvest in the community that I lived in.
Currently involved with Neon, and I'm going through the small business class at North Hennepin Community College, and I'm getting ready to open a business called Brooklyn Financial Collection Agency. And it's referred to Build Wealth through Neon to stabilize my credit and my the way I spend my money, the way I manage my accounts, the way I take care of all of my business.
You know, we've got to talk about good jobs. We've got to talk about good jobs in communities where they are necessary. And then when we talk about that, we have to be able to teach people the long-term necessity of building wealth, not just getting a paycheck. It's about the future. It's about sustainability.
You know, I think we have an opportunity to begin to provide a platform of resources that helps to develop the businesses that hopefully will be a critical part of supporting that community in the future.
I've done things over with Dave McGee. He helped out, but we're still working out because I'm one of those guys I'd like to own my own facility, my own building, so we're working on some things like that.
Yeah, business development. Build Wealth Minnesota is a community development financial institution, and part of its original plan was to help entrepreneurs have that same thing that we're talking about in housing. A sustainable home ownership and a sustainable business owner is critical. More than 70% of the employment in our nation is through small businesses. And a lot of the families that go through our program have exciting business ideals and concepts and may have started a business, want to start a business, or expand a business, but don't possess the tools necessary to be a sustainable, successful, and profitable business. There are a lot of programs that are out here that families that have found themselves in where they've been, I consider, funded to fail, given just enough funding to get themselves down the road and find themselves in debt, and later the business closes. And so what we've been doing is partnering with a number of organizations, and Northside Economic Opportunity Network with NEON, the MCCD, it was the Metropolitan Consortium of Community Developers, of which Build Wealth is a member of. We've got MEDA and a number of organizations, University of Minnesota, the University of St. Thomas, where we're finding some very unique business models and business delivery models where we're taking businesses and we're doing a global approach of taking that family and stabilizing that family to make sure that's a stable family who's actually operating that business, then giving them the necessary business skills and tools and access to financing that they may not have had to get that business in a position to be sustainable.
We either have to be intentional now about achieving racial equity, or in the long term, there are going to be a large percentage of the population who's going to be disaffected, ill-prepared, and possibly a burden on society. So we really have to be intentional now about our future.
Now that the dust started to settle from the foreclosure crisis, I think we have some real opportunities. And what we are seeing is that financial literacy, access to capital, and access to programming is a gap in communities of color, and we can't continue to operate that way. So we need to be reaching out to our partners and working more intentionally to address that.
The wraparound approach of providing multiple services, support services to a family or to an individual to prepare them in a variety of different areas, whether it's educationally, whether it's financially, whether it's from a technology standpoint. I think that's a great model. I think it's a great strategy. The question I would have is the ability to create a sustainable model. And that gets back to your question earlier about the funding community and getting the funding community to recognize and to understand that this model is the model that leads to self-sufficiency for members of our community. It's not asking for a handout. It's not asking for the government to do it for us. It's saying here we have a strategy, we have a model that's designed and it's uniquely specific to the needs of people of color. And so, I think getting the funding community to understand that model better, and somewhere in this, the corporate community has got to be a little bit more engaged, because I think there's a tremendous opportunity for them here to be able to support that model, to drive greater impact, and again, understanding that the goal here is about self-sufficiency, being able to take members of underserved populations and to provide them with a platform and training that allows them to become contributing, productive members of our society. That's the goal.
It has been life-changing for us, and I'm his witness that he tells everybody, and then just through our church, there's so many, people that we've told, and it's just everybody has benefited from it. So it's been a huge blessing for our family.
Well, before we got into the family stabilization program, it was definitely a challenge. A lot of times when we got to the meetings with our coach, it was more of, him really sitting us down and talking to us about being better communicators with one another. And I think just being better communicators with one another is how we really got off to a better start of building a sound family.
Public programs are investments in families, not a drain on resources. They were working really hard. They were very articulate. Every day that I got to interview families was a joy, and because they taught me what their day-to-day life was. And they worked hard, but not in a way that life was a struggle. They taught me a lot about living, not giving up, perseverance, all what I think are positive attributes. They reaffirmed, that central good human spirit. They weren't beaten down. They, some of them had stories where they were in financially hard times, but they were going to work their way out of it. They were determined. And I also think there's something admirable about asking for help rather than to continue to flounder.
We got a big, long road ahead of us because, as you're aware, there's been decades, if not hundreds of years, of lack of opportunity for many of the communities in Minneapolis to get a leg up. If for generations households haven't had assets within their family, it's really, really tough to start building them now compared to households, primarily white Caucasians who've been able to build and acquire assets or generationally have had them passed down from generation to generation. We need to start somewhere, and it needs to be holistic. It doesn't just need to be building assets in home ownership. And there are many out there who would argue that that's not the way to build assets, given the tough last 5 or 6 or 7 years that we've gone through. That a lot of folks, they had assets built up or equity built up in their home, they lost it due to the loss in market value. So I think it's for us, home ownership is about stability for the household, and it's about asset generation second. But if we can create some mind space, some mental space, as well as some financial space, so that households can invest elsewhere, that's also an opportunity for them to start building assets as they see fit.
We are not the solution. We are a part of the solution, and we play a part of that solution. And so, we always had bird shot on the farm, where we often shot sparrows in our machine sheds, right? And if you used a rifle, it'd go through the tin and the roof, and then the roof would leak. But if you use birdshot, which was essentially like a little shotgun shell with a whole bunch of little trajectories going out, not only did you have a better chance of hitting the sparrow that was pooping on the equipment, but you also didn't go through the roof and cause damage. And I think that's kind of how we need to continue to address this kind of space where I'm one of those little pebbles in that shop. And the family stabilization plan is another. And we're all moving in the same direction towards our objective. And I think that objective is that we can all be as whole and as human as absolutely possible together, and that we all get the chance to live life meaningfully well.
At the time I came in the program, my mom was going through foreclosure, and I was able to learn some tips and different things that I could do to help out with that, and then eventually purchase my house. That's why Build Wealth was so important to me. Had Build Wealth not been there, so I could get my credit score up to where it needed to be to purchase a house, I wouldn't have gotten in a house. So Build Wealth, I just praise Build Wealth big time. They're definitely the real deal.
This program really worked. People should really try it, because we did like 5 or 6 over the years, and none of them never worked. So I was just getting out of the hospital. No, I was just going in the hospital. And my brother said, "Come and go to this program with me." And then I got out the hospital. I was just too sick to make it. He said, "Della, you got to make this program. I think this is going to be the one for our house. By you being the oldest, you need the house." I was sick, but my brother made sure he got me here every Saturday. Some Saturdays I couldn't make it because I was just too sick. I had just got out from having lung cancer surgery, so it worked for me. I'm enjoying it. I love my house, and I love cooking and all that stuff. All the kids come over, just enjoy it.
So far, do you think that your economic wealth has been increased since being in the programs?
Yes.
So you feel it's easier to talk to your creditors and you're able to save money?
Yes, I'm doing all of that, and I should see results on my credit report within the next 30 days. Build Wealth is doing a great job.
We believe we have a wonderful delivery model. It would be in our best interest to see this effective delivery model and all the successes that the Family Stabilization Plan and Build Wealth has had, to be able to see this replicate itself in the other neighborhoods around the country. Rethink value-based approaches, and rethink and redesign delivery systems and delivery models that are outcome-based, where you can track and see the difference, where these particular systems will be something that once again becomes a trailblazer and becomes a source of breaking patterns and patterns of poverty and generational lack. That's the call to action. And so our goal with Build Wealth is, and our hopes are that more organizations will come together, and we're looking for more families that will reach out to this type of programming and will understand and see and be able to be transparent and understand the lack of social wealth and the lack of economic wealth and the high costs that not knowing and not understanding and not being educated is having on not only their families, but their neighborhoods and their communities and their state and their county and their country, and how in turn this is being setting up the stage for their children and their grandchildren to follow similar patterns of lack. And so it's critical that we all position ourselves to build sustainable social and economic wealth and lower the cost of of goods and services by having the kind of knowledge and understanding that's necessary for us to succeed and prosper.